So today we're going to install and configure UERANSIM, and that's the GNodeB and the UE. So I'm at the GitHub page. Just scroll down to the wiki and installation. So I can basically start here. There are some dependencies that are required. I'm going to try. I'm just gonna see if this one is available on my computer. I'm currently SSH'd into my Ubuntu laptop, so I'm gonna try to work through this. Okay, I think that might be all that I need for this, so I'm gonna go ahead and try here. So I'm in my home directory. I don't have UERANSIM. I'm going to do the git clone here. Okay. So I'm just going to cd into UERANSIM and run make. This might take a little while. But let's go ahead and just see what else we have after this. So everything's going to be copied and compiled into this UERANSIM build folder, and that's where we'll run all our executables from. So the NR GNodeB and the NR UE. It'll also create a configuration directory with, again, some pre-canned configuration files. We'll have ones that are specific for Open5GS, which are going to be the ones that we're using since we're using Open5GS. So we're just going to wait for that to go ahead and finish building. And here will be kind of the syntax of how you run the UE and the GNodeB. So we'll be in that build directory. We'll do the ./NRUE /taxc and then pointing to the configuration file. So again, kind of, I guess what it looks like is down here. Okay, so we've successfully built. If I just go in here, I can see my build and my config. So I'm going to go into my config directory, and then you'll see the Open5GS GNodeB and Open5GS UE. So I'm going to first I'm going to configure my GNodeB. The UERANSIM GNodeB configuration is pretty straightforward. We just need to change our PLMN, our country code and network code, to match our AMF and our 5G core. You can change your cell ID here and the length of the GNodeB in bits. And then I need to change my tracking area code to match my 5G core as well. So for all of these addresses, you could leave them as they are. I like to just change them. They're all going to be the same, and they can work that way. That's just going to be the GNodeB ID. Obviously, the NGAP is going to go through the GNodeB, and so is the GTP. The NGAP just comes from the AMF, and the GTP goes from the GNodeB to the UPF. So these would change if you had everything running on different virtual machines or physical computers or Docker containers or whatever you're using. And the same goes for the AMF address. This can just match our Open5GS AMF address, the .5, and the port is 38412 for the SCTP. If you want to do any slicing, you can also configure that here. Next, I will just go take a look at my UE config. So to make this easy, I can just reuse what I've already input into my subscriber database for Open5GS, just because since I'm SSH'd into it right now, that means I would not be able to access the web UI from my SSH. So if I just use that SIM that I input in there, so I'll go ahead and do that. Change my PLMN. 1. We're going to do profile A protection scheme after this, but for simplicity, I'm just going to go through and do my SIM keys first. So here's my K. And next will be my OPC. So that should be it for now. I'll change this to the GNodeB address, and we can see there's a bunch of other stuff down here. If I want to do, create a PDU session that's going to work, then I have to make sure that, again, it matches. So that's where I can change my PDU session APN to APN. I can disable NAS security, integrity, and encryption algorithms. You don't really need to do that unless you want to kind of create some different scenarios there. So essentially what I have to do now is I have to create 2 sessions. So I'm going to go back and go to my build configuration. So now I can do my /nr. Well, actually, let's check and see. Okay, 5GS is up and running, so that's good. So /nr -c, and then so this should be good. So our GNodeB connection to the 5G core is successful. We can see the SCTP connection was established, and we have our NG setup request and response. So we're connected to the 5G core. But we're basically just going to go into UERANSIM build on this side and do the NRUE C. This works. So it looks like I've got some stuff going on here. So we've gotten past RC connection established. That's good. And we're sending PDU. Okay, so it says PDU session establishment is successful. Usually yeah, so it looks like I probably have to run both of these with sudo. So we'll go ahead and do that next, because we should see the IP address there. So again, let's run that. So again, we're good on the GNodeB side. So now we just need to go run sudo on the UE. Let's see what works here. So right there, connection is successful. So we've connected and we've gotten an IP address. So that's pretty much using UERANSIM GNodeB in the UE with Open5GS. We can go look back at our GNodeB, and too, we can see some further messaging now that the UE signals detected, RRC setup, initial NAS message has been received, and PDU session resources set up for that UE. If we go on this computer now and we do an ifconfig, we'll see that we have this UE SIMTON with the IP address for the UERANSIM UE. Now we're going to configure the private key for profile A encryption with UERANSIM UE. So I've stopped my Open5GS. I'm in the etc Open5GS directory, and I'm going to go in and look at my udm.yaml. It actually gives you explicit instructions here on how to generate the key. So I'm going to go ahead and pretty much just copy and paste some of these. So right here, I'm going to do this. Again, run it with sudo. So we do that. And then we're also going to go back here and do this. Okay, so it gives us our key, and if I go ahead and I look at this right here, this is pretty much what I'm going to want to input into my UERANSIM. So I have to go to my UERANSIM. So here I am, sudo go into the UE. So let's look at what we have to do here. So I need to change my protection scheme to 1, and that will define profile A. Now, this is where it gets a little funky because the way it outputs the key with all those colons, I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but I basically just need to delete Okay, so that should be good there. So I think that's pretty much it. So what I'm gonna do here is do my TCP dump so I can look at this afterwards. I'm going to start my 5G core. Let's take a look there. We're all up and running. Then I'm going to do my GNodeB. And I need to go into my build directory and do the same thing here. So in our UE. So it looks like it received the registration successfully. So what we can do now is just go in and look at our Wireshark, our PCAP collection, and just verify. Now I can verify I've got the 5G PCAP, and I can just go ahead and open Wireshark and just verify. If I filter it to just NGAP messaging and I go and look at the registration request, I bring that up and I'm looking at the registration request here, initial registration, and then we can see here's profile A.
and we can see the protection scheme output, and so that's it using a with Profile A. If I were to look at just a standard without the Profile A setup, PCAP with the 5G core and UERANSIM, this is what it would look like. So I go and look at my, so we just see it's null Suchi, and there's no protection scheme output or anything in place there. So that's just kind of what the difference between setting up the Profile A and then having null encryption would look like.